With Niantic increasing the amount of guaranteed lucky trades that you can do, and with the upcoming introduction of the Lucky Charm item, I really do think it's about time that Niantic gave us the ability to do trades remotely. Alright, how's it going everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon GO video. I hope your day is going fantastically well, and let's get right into it. Alright, so for today's video, I want to talk about trading because, in my opinion, this is one of the most core aspects of Pokemon GO. And the reason why I say that is because, of course, Pokemon GO is a collecting-based game. No matter if you PvP, no matter if you do raid battles, you need to collect Pokemon in order to get ahead. It's bar none one of the biggest parts of Pokemon GO that a lot of players actually enjoy. And completing all the various Pokedexes might be your biggest goals, but ultimately what it comes down to is trading. Like, if you're not doing any trades, you're basically going to be missing out on a whole bunch of very key Pokemon for finding success in the various aspects of this game. So yeah, I really do think trading needs some major improvements, mainly because a lot of players I find do not do a whole bunch of trades. They tend to ignore this core feature. And because of that, they're not completing their Pokedexes, they're falling behind when it comes to raids, and I do think that for Niantic, they need to start updating these systems so that more players get on board. So I think trading is a very important part, but it does come with a lot of flaws. One of the major roadblocks for doing a whole bunch of trades is the proximity mechanic when it comes to trading. You have to be really close to your trade partner in order to engage in a trade, and in many ways this is actually pretty good because it actually allows you to interact with other players. It kind of supports the whole aspect of Pokemon GO that they want to reinforce, which is the exploration-based gameplay or going outside and meeting people. And I do think there is a sense of community that can be built by having this proximity mechanic, but I also feel like it also hinders a lot of players from actually engaging with trading because, simply put, they do not have a lot of their trade partners near them. Like, for example, in a lot of people in my friends list, they live halfway across the world. Some people live in Korea, some people live in Europe, some people live in even different states within the United States, and it's impossible for me to actually go to these players to actually do some of these trades. Even when they increase the trade distance every now and then, it's still not enough for me to get these trades done. And I am sitting on a whole bunch of lucky friends at the moment right now, and it would be really nice if I was able to actually trade with some of these people. So in my opinion, I think it's about time Niantic actually implemented some way for you to do some sort of remote trading, whether that be some sort of point of interest that they could introduce. I think some players have suggested things like a trading post that you would find in the wild, or maybe they could have some sort of paid mechanic where you could purchase an item that would allow you to have your next trade be done remotely, kind of like with remote raid passes. But I think that would be a bit of a more controversial way for them to do this, but at the very least, I think there needs to be some way for us to do some sort of trading remotely because as of right now, the game feels like it needs it. Because even for stuff like guaranteed lucky trades, this is a mechanic that a lot of players are becoming a lot more aware of, especially recently with the most recent in-game event. People are finding that you can get guaranteed lucky trades if you trade Pokemon from a certain year and beforehand. But a lot of players are not able to utilize this mechanic because they do not have any friends to trade with around them. A lot of the people that they play with probably live halfway across the world, just like myself. And for the local communities, maybe you will come across some players who will be able to trade with you, but overall, it's really difficult and it's quite rare. Unless you're actively involved in certain communities, it's going to be hard for you to find someone to trade with consistently on a daily basis. And in my opinion, I think that's what's really how you can get the most out of trading. If you have someone you could trade with almost on the daily, it's going to allow you to get some of the best Pokemon. It's going to allow you to fill up your Pokedexes, as well as pick up Shundos and Hundos of legendaries. And I think that's one of the exciting aspects of trading that a lot of players are not experiencing. Like for myself, within my collection, I have a whole bunch of Shundos, and I think a lot of players are aware of that, but a lot of players may not be aware that a lot of those Shundos were obtained from lucky trades. I am constantly upkeeping my friends list. I'm trying to get lucky friends with all my best friends, and most of the people that I open gifts and send gifts to are the ones that live within driving distance, and those are the friends that I focus in on because I want to get as many lucky trades as I can. And For a lot of the other players that are on my friends list, people that I see as very close to me, people who I have played with quite frequently back in the day, those are players that I do not interact with, and they just essentially collect dust in my friends list. And I have a hard time justifying removing them because of the connections that I've made with them, but I almost feel like I need to because I need to make room for friends that I can actually trade with. And these are some of the things that Niantic needs to understand, is that if they limit players with these sort of mechanics, then you're going to hamper the experience of those players. And I think the best way to go about it is for them to add certain mechanics that allows us to do remote trades every now and then. And I don't think it's going to hurt the game. I think there's still going to be an element of exploration. I think there's still going to be an element of community, because ultimately players will want to play with other people. And you know, having these sort of mechanics introduced, just like the remote raid pass, if they were to set certain limitations behind these sort of mechanics to actually allow players to utilize these mechanics without it completely breaking the game, I think Niantic could come up with something. I think for the most part, they did a really good job with remote raid passes initially, but over time they did nerf remote raid passes and it just kind of swung the pendulum the wrong way. But I think with lucky trades and with trades in general, if they were to introduce some way for us to do them remotely and have some limitations around it, then I do think it could work. I do think it's going to be really great for Pokemon Go if they were to ever do it, because trading, like I said, it's something that I wish a lot more players actively engaged in. I feel like they would find more enjoyment out of Pokemon Go. I think they would get more excitement and a lot more, I guess, gratification and satisfaction from getting certain Pokemon if they were to do a lot more trades. But because of a lot of the restrictions that are currently in place regarding trading, I think a lot of players tend to ignore it. And I think this is something that needs to change, especially with the increase of guaranteed lucky trades and with the upcoming introduction of the Lucky Charm item. I think players would buy these items a lot more frequently, and I think a lot more players would actually care about guaranteed lucky trades if they actually had players to trade with. And even if they have a completely full friends list, they may not still be able to trade because all those people live so far away. And I think what Niantic could do is actually help that a little bit by introducing some sort of mechanic that would allow us to do remote trading. And again, there's different solutions that they could come up with. I think a lot of players have suggested some really good things. I think a trading post point of interest is probably the best idea, that if you want to trade with someone remotely, you still have to go out and find these trading posts, and your friend has to find a trading post around them. And if you communicate with each other that you're near a trading post, then yeah, you could finally do a trade with your friend who lives halfway across the world. Maybe they could introduce some sort of item that will allow you to do trades. I think I suggested that earlier. Or maybe it could be something where if you can do a remote raid with someone, you will have a little bit of a time window where you could trade with that player that you just remote raided with. I think there's so many different creative ways that could actually get players to trade with their friends, and I think it's up to Niantic to come up with those things, and maybe they will. I really do not know. But as of right now, I think it's very frustrating that the only way I could trade with some of my friends is if I happen to run into them at, let's say, like a Pokemon Go Fest or a Go Tour. Otherwise, it's just, they're just there. I have so many different lucky friends that I want to trade with, and I just cannot because they live so far away. And yeah, I really do hope this is something Niantic is thinking about, because I feel like the game is primed and ready for this sort of mechanic. I think, for what it's worth, a lot of players want this, and it's something that I often see get brought up within the Pokemon Go community, especially within my local communities. A lot of players have been wanting this for a very long time. So yeah, this is kind of like my plea to Niantic. I really do hope this is something that they would consider. It would definitely create a lot of positivity within the Pokemon Go community. I think the game has been in a very steady decline when it comes to player sentiments. And I do think that if they were to introduce something like this, it would definitely drive up a lot more engagement. It would definitely drive up a lot more positivity. And I do think a lot of players would be extremely excited about it. I have a really hard time thinking of arguments for something against this. I really do think some players may just naturally feel like the game needs to have these sort of restrictions, but I just do not think the proximity restriction is something that is relevant nowadays. I think there's plenty of ways that Niantic could allow players to be able to trade remotely, but still produce this sense of exploration. That's just my opinion. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for sitting and listening to me ramble about this. I just been thinking about it a lot, especially lately with you know, with the lucky charm and with the increase to guaranteed lucky trades, I just feel like a lot of this stuff is missing a lot of its potential because Niantic does not have remote trading in the game. So yeah, definitely share your thoughts. If you're someone who disagrees with me, I would like to know the reasons why. Because like I said, I have a really hard time coming up with counterpoints to this. I really do think this is something that would be really good for the game, but maybe I'm missing something. Maybe this is something that would be really bad for the game, and I really would like to know why. So if you have those thoughts, definitely share them in the comments below. And yeah, let's have a great discussion. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and found it to be interesting. And if you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the absolute best way you could do that is always going to be by joining my Patreon. And for all of my paid Patreon members, I will add them to my Pokemon GO friends list. So that means for stuff like remote raids and the friendship system, if you want to play Pokemon GO with me, then do consider joining my Patreon, the links to which are in the description below. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way that doesn't involve any kind of memberships, then the best way you could do that is, of course, by joining my social media pages and following me there. Yeah, I'm on the platforms that you see on the bottom of your screen. Go over there, give me a follow. My handle is @CountJinsula. And yeah, you'll have access to some exclusive content and you'll be able to keep up with my daily life. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.